It probably won't be very long before what we are seeing, especially UK businesses in this country, what currently is a very few, and there are quite big voices calling out about this in different industries throughout up and down the UK, saying, "What have you done? What have you done? You promised this wouldn't happen, and yet now we are seeing our export businesses disappear completely." You know, the European Union and its market was a huge advantage to UK businesses because they could treat it as a home market, because we were all following the same regulations. And now, because we don't know whether we will be following the same regulations, because, again, the Tories have gone, yeah, we'll get rid of regulations. And then, of course, the next sensible response would be, okay, if you're going to get rid of regulations, what regulations are you going to get rid of? To which the Tory response is, we don't know yet. We'll ask businesses, what do businesses want to get rid of? Businesses came back and said, we don't want to get rid of any regulations because we want to keep trading with the European Union. In fact, any regulations that they make, we want the UK government to also adopt so that we can keep trading. This was then followed by a very blatant, obvious push to try and get rid of workers' rights, which then ended up in a U-turn. There is now Ian Duncan Smith, of all people, a very heavy Eurosceptic who has talked numerous times about deregulating the UK regulations and economy, is now in charge of a report and a government system to help him decide which regulations need to go. You can see where this is going. No matter how much the government says that it won't get rid of protections that protect consumers and workers, they are very, very determined to actually get rid of them. They just want to try and sneak it through. And that is why I always say we must be ever vigilant about what regulations they want to cut. So, we come to today's story because this is really a serious issue. Businesses and industries all up and down the UK, as we said at the beginning, relied on being in the single market customs union so that they could treat the whole of the EU, 27 other countries, as just a direct market they could sell into. And we have been constantly hearing, ever since the start of this year, how difficult it is now for them to trade into these things. And of course, this is going to get even worse because as the coronavirus does start to recede, and as we see economies and businesses start to get back to normal, we are going to see, especially in the UK, and this is my prediction, that our economy is going to move slower than a slug. And I think as we see other countries this year, literally like a jet plane, because they've done things properly and supported their industries during this very difficult time, they're going to jet out of recessions, out of this current recession, but we're not. And that's when I think serious questions should be asked. But, the Tories are in charge, so I'm sure those very serious questions will just get deferred, shall we say, just like Liz Truss has just done very recently in Parliament the past couple of weeks. So today's story comes from The Independent, but before we jump into that, please do remember to hit that like and share button, and of course down below there is a link to my Patreon page as well as a one-off donation link called Buy Me a Coffee, where you can, buy me a coffee, simple as it sounds. So, like I say, we jump into today's article straight away. So, the title is Anger Builds Among Manufacturers as EU Customers Cancel Orders Due to Brexit Red Tape. EU customers are cancelling orders from the UK because of a mass of red tape. UK manufacturers have said as anger builds over the lack of government of Brexit support and antiquated customs systems. While problems have been most acute for perishable goods like meat and seafood, manufacturers are now also reporting cancelled orders and some haulage firms are refusing to move goods. Close to 30% of small British firms have stopped shipping goods to the EU amid widespread confusion about customs forms and extra costs, according to the accountants UHY and Hacker Young. Think about that for a second. 30% of all small British businesses have stopped exporting to the EU. That will have a knock-on effect to our economy. So anyway, it continues. Particular challenges are now very evident all around just how hard it is to get anything out or into the country, said Ben Fletcher, the Executive Director for Policy for manufacturers trade body Made UK. There are simply not enough customs agents to help businesses get through this, and there is not enough capacity in the freight forwarding system. The burden is particularly falling on SMEs to fight their way through. One customs expert who has worked at HMRC for over 30 years and now advises Made UK even admitted that the new requirements are very complicated, Mr. Fletcher said. Compounding the problems is the fact that there is no helpline to resolve issues with the 30-year-old IT system required to log customs documents for imports and exports. Instead, businesses are referred to a HMRC email addresses which promises a response within 5 days. And bear in mind, April 1st. The 1st of April is when the grace period ends. You know, if we're having problems now, wait until the grace period ends. It's going to be a complete and utter perfect storm. So, once a response is received, if the issue is not resolved, firms must then wait a further 5 days. Oh my. So, it's even worse. Because you've got to go, hey, HMRC, this is my problem. Wait 5 days. Response. Okay, so how do I do this? Send it off. Wait another 5 days. That is just completely undoable. You can't do that. So this is a completely unrealistic time frame if you are trying to make a quick decision, Mr. Fletcher said. There are no real There are real frustrations when trying to get hold of government helplines and real uncertainty about how to use government forms, he said. There is a tangible anger among some members that I have not once experienced before. One business told The Independent they have been waiting for 10 days for a response from HMRC to their query, while others say tiny errors on paperwork meant shipments were rejected completely or faced lengthy delays. Up to 500,000 firms are estimated to have filed customs declarations for the first time following the end of the transition period. Most have never previously had to use the chief system, which was built in 1989 because they had free access to import and exports from the EU. The replacement customs declaration service, which was hailed by the government as a way to, quote, streamline Brexit bureaucracy, but 2 years after it was supposedly ready, it was still not fully operational. Former Brexit Secretary David Davis said in 2017 that the technology would be ready by January of 2019. The EU customs systems are also leaving UK firms with a huge burden of paperwork, particularly for products of animal origin which require additional safety certificates. We are dealing with a system that is so antiquated, said David Lars of the British Meat Processors Association, that if there are any changes required to the paperwork at the border, they have to manually go through each of the pages and manually cross things out, or putting up an old-fashioned 1950s style ink stamp on every single crossing out. If you miss something or if you miss something off your consignment, you could be completely refused entry. And in some cases, when it doesn't work, it's catastrophic. Michael Dale, the senior manager at Young Hacker, Harker Young, said that around 30 of 100 export clients had stopped sending goods to the EU. The number of SMEs who have no option but to halt export into the EU will continue to grow, Mr. Dale said. These extra costs and paperwork will be devastating for UK SMEs who rely on their EU customer base. EU customers will inevitably look somewhere else, even if it means they can avoid paying import costs, and UK businesses could see part of their client base completely evaporate. HMRC, which is already under intense pressure from additional paperwork due to COVID-19, did not say how many people were assigned to help businesses deal with the customs issues. A government spokesperson said, "Are you ready? Are you ready? Because this is like the copy and paste response they always give, so say it with me. Now the UK has left the EU customs union and single market, there are new rules and processes businesses will need to follow. We have encouraged companies new and dealing with customs declarations to appoint a specialist to deal with import and export declarations on their behalf. Those specialists are going to cost money, so it's laughable that the government thinks that they can just magic a specialist out of thin air and just say, here you go. Not going to happen like that. To appoint the specialist to deal with new import declarations on behalf, and we've also made more than 80 million available to expand the capacity of the customs agents market. Most businesses use a specialist such as a customs broker, freight forwarder, or fast parcel operator to deal with this. The government will continue to work closely with businesses to ensure that they are able to trade effectively under the new rules." What do you think is going to happen in April when the grace period ends? When the stockpiles run out? When businesses start to try to get back to at least some form of normality? It is going to be absolute chaos. And these forms aren't going away. As Michael Gove said, these aren't teething problems. These are permanent forms. You know, this is exactly the type of chaos that we warned about, and exactly the type of, burdensome bureaucracy and red tape that we said they would have to take on, which the Brexiteers' response was, "Oh no, you don't understand. Leaving the EU takes away the red tape." It's just unbelievable, but here we are. Reality is no longer knocking on the door of Brexit. It has literally put its boot through the door and is now proceeding to, shining its way with an axe through the door, with Boris Johnson and the Brexiteers on the other side screaming because they don't know what to do. And trust me, in this horror movie scenario, reality always wins. So, as always, thank you for watching. Please do remember to hit that like and share button on your way out. And of course, down below, there is a link to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link, and where it's called Buy Me a Coffee, where you can, buy me a coffee. And thank you to those people who do support me that way. So, as always, we'll see you all next time.